All right, I'm Blake Purchase, class 2023. I'm an edge rusher. I go to Cherry High School. I'm an Oregon commit, and you're listening to Playmakers Corner.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for this episode, and we have a very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, where you play football, and the position you play, we'd love to hear it.
I'm Blake Purchase. I go to Cherry High School. Next year I'll be attending the University of Oregon, and I'm an outside linebacker / defensive end.
And if you don't know his name, well, you probably live under a rock because Blake here has plenty of accolades to talk about here. But we'll get to that in a second after we start this fun little intro that we do for basically every interview here, just to kind of get to know you and your view and relationship with sports. And, we want to start off by asking you, what is your favorite memory watching or being a fan of sports? This could be a live game that you attended. This could be a game that you watched on TV of your favorite team winning a big game, or just something that's special to you that, really caught your eye and, is like an essential memory from more the fan side of things. And yeah, this could be any sport too, by the way. This doesn't just have to be football, but if it is, then bonus points, I guess.
Yes, probably. I remember I was watching the Auburn Alabama game, the Iron Bowl, when Auburn scored that crazy field goal touchdown they ran back. That was probably my favorite memory ever watching football. That's when I knew I kind of wanted to really play college football.
Yeah, that was one of the most electric. I mean, you could just feel the energy of the stadium even on the other side of the TV. That was a crazy game. And I'm not surprised, but I do think it's interesting that a lot of athletes that we talk to, that is one of their, and a lot of them aren't even Auburn or Bama fans. It's just one of the craziest moments ever in any football game ever, period.
Yeah, it's crazy watching that live, actually. It was so crazy to see that happen.
That's nuts. But then we flip it to the other side here. So that's, your favorite fan experience. But then we're going to ask, what's your favorite memory or experience while playing? And I mean, you have a lot to choose from, seeing as how you've been a 4-time state champ, obviously a ton of accolades and whatnot. But before I spoil any of that, I'll give you a chance first to talk about, whether it was a specific game, a specific season, a weather game that was really memorable, or rivalry, what have you. Yeah, we just love to hear what kind of makes you tick on the football field a little bit.
Yeah, I think my favorite memory was probably in the state game this year, probably the easiest one I can remember, is when I had a strip sack, a state championship game, like a bull rush off the edge, and then we got the ball back the 5-yard line. That was probably my favorite memory, probably the most memorable one that I can think of for my 4 years. And then, winning state championship games is always definitely big memories, but one specific play is definitely that play.
Yeah, that play was nuts. I'm really glad that I was in the press box for that game. And just as soon as you won off the line with that bull rush, I was like, oh no, the quarterback has no idea that his life is about to change. And I mean, that is on a big stage. And, that was huge momentum wise to force that turnover. And I mean, you guys kept the good times rolling on that defensive unit. And yeah, no, I think that's a great one for sure. So. And like you said, obviously winning state a few times, you end up having a few favorite memories. But, that one does stick out for us here at the pod as well. And, speaking of the pod here, we did do, and that's why you're invited here, is we always do top 5 seniors of each position. And, y'all, if you haven't listened to it, go ahead and listen to it. But you were above and beyond our highest rated prospect for this edge group here. And I'm just kind of curious if you had a chance to listen to that. And if you did, what was kind of your reaction to our evaluation of your game?
Yeah, I listened to it a long time ago. When it first got dropped. And yeah, it's definitely good to see recognition in state from people in state. Cause I feel like that was one of my kind of something I was looking forward to this season is really proving people that actually watch your games. Cause recruiting and stuff like that. A lot of people say, yeah, he's overhyped, he's over this, but seeing people that actually watch my games, talk about how I play and stuff is definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, and as someone who watched, you live for entire games before, and, we caught regular season stuff, and we also watched the full game film, anything that's on NFHS as well. And Yeah, I can't imagine anyone who actually uses their eyes saying that you're overhyped here.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just kind of part of the pedigree a little bit when you're such a highly touted prospect. And, I guess kind of just take us through that a little bit. What was it like entering this, senior season? Obviously, Creek having a very strong track record of, dominance, especially in the past decade, but obviously overall. But, how does that kind of mesh with being such a highly touted prospect? Does that really change things for you? Or how do you have to adjust your focus from, being a big time prospect, but also being a solid contributor for this Creek team?
Yeah, I think balancing recruiting and balancing like the high school season is definitely hard sometimes because like you're hearing let's like talk to a college because all you hear about is like how good you are. That's all they talk about is how good you are and how because they're trying to recruit you to get you to come to their school obviously. And then like going to like your high school season, you gotta like really like come back down to earth and like you gotta put in the work every day. So I think it's definitely hard to just like be level headed and just kind of learn how to just like recruiting is one thing, high school season is one thing, and like right now during high school season, that's the most important thing at that point in time. So that's definitely how you gotta kind of handle it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the spotlight, the higher touted prospect you are, the bigger the spotlight is. So being able to balance that. But I'd say that you handled it just fine based off of, obviously the team success and your individual performance. But,
Yeah.
obviously you had a chance to kind of hear us talk about your game, but we want to let you kind of let the listeners know and even let us know, in your opinion, what kind of differentiates you as a player from the perspective of Blake Purchase, like 2 to 3 qualities that maybe not only make you a different kind of end or outside backer here in Colorado, but even in the country.
Yeah, I think well, like first is like just like my play recognition. I probably haven't watched a lot of film before games, like really studying my opponents and like that. So really just like knowing how they're gonna attack me and how they're gonna try to like limit me my opportunities to make plays and like that. So kind of just like picking up on blocking schemes so like that. That's probably the first quality I really like about myself. And then I think just like really just like working on my pass rush stuff, like being a good pass rusher. I think that helped me sit on like the state and the country. Definitely just being a good pass rusher. And then another thing is probably just probably my able to like my ability to like move around the field, not just be like a pass rusher, not just be able to just like rush be a run stopper, really be able to be versatile and do everything.
Yeah, that was easily, I'd say, the thing that set you apart the most from every other guy in this class is your pass coverage is really good, dude. And I mean, to be able to rush the quarterback and drop back in coverage, that is such a rare thing that, I mean, we've seen some glimpses of it, but even like it's rare on any level, especially here on this Colorado level. So to be able to do that and be very versatile, we definitely agree. And I mean, I'd say that here at the podcast, we definitely value versatility. How useful do you think being versatile is when you're being recruited?
It definitely is because like coaches can see you and put you at different spots on the field. Because like for me personally, like I could put like I always talk about working coaches and stuff like that. Well, I can play like down defensive end or like an outside linebacker standing up. So really like being versatile in recruiting, it definitely will help you like be more valued in more schools. Because if you can play most positions, then like they can use you as one person in a spot of two pretty much.
And, obviously with that same logic, whether it's high school or, the next level, you just get on the field faster, which
Yeah.
is also pretty nice as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, we try and drive it into these younger players, especially that you should really try and be versatile. And I think that you're one of the best examples of that.
Yeah.
And, I think that it served you well. This schedule that you guys had this year was a very interesting one. I think that you guys did a great job of challenging yourselves this year. And I kind of just want to hear your kind of take on the Cherry Creek season. Maybe some things that went well and maybe some things that were learning experiences for some of the younger players.
Yeah, I think like the game in Ohio, like I'm probably going to losses probably mostly. The game in Ohio, we went to Ohio and lost a tough game out there. That definitely like showed us that like we definitely got things to work on, we gotta be better. But I think the game that really we kind of needed to lose almost was the game against Granby that we lost. Like no one likes losing, but I think that kind of made us all like really like lock in almost like more like we're not unbeatable, we're not untouchable. So we gotta really like buy into what the coach was saying and buy into film, buy into practice and everything like that to be able to win another state championship. So I think that was the biggest game that we needed to like kind of lose almost is that game against Grandview.
And I'll work backwards here. I guess, from an outsider perspective, there's a lot of parallels that you can draw between obviously this past season and the season before. Because, I mean, you guys had that upset loss to Arapahoe a couple years ago. And then, this year to Grandview. I guess, what's it kind of like to be that team that has that target on their back that everyone wants to beat so bad? And, how do you bounce back from a loss like that? What is some like advice you'd have as like a leader or just as a football player in general?
Yeah, I think like we got way too complacent sometimes like during the season because we were just kind of used to winning almost. So yeah, I think that those losses, like trying to bounce back from was definitely tough because like you go from not really losing all season to losing a game like that you believe that you should have won. So it was definitely tough. But I think really just like stay the course and just like it's regular season games, so the playoffs are always the most important time for us. We feel so to really just kind of just see the bigger picture and just kind of get through that and just kind of watch film and learn from the game.
Yeah, and then talking about the Ohio game, I mean, that team, St. Edward, they go on to eventually win their state championship. And you guys played a really, really close game against that. Obviously, the score reflects that, but having watched the game, there were definitely chances that you guys had to win. And, to compete like that with a team that, kind of does what you guys do here, but over in Ohio, I guess, what were some of the learning experiences playing an out-of-state team like that and just competing with them? And, I mean, also just showing that, Colorado talent, you think that Colorado in general can hang with some of the other states? And are we a little overlooked in the talent department?
Yeah, well, like that game, like playing like a team like that was definitely a fun game. Like that was probably one of the most fun games of my career, going out there and playing against them. But yeah, I think what I could learn from that game was probably just like the physicality, like at like other states and other levels, and just like playing against other teams. Just like we got that, you got to be the more physical team to try to win games. So we definitely brought that back when we came here. And then I think that yeah, Colorado's definitely overlooked. Like we definitely compete in that game. I think a couple of things go a different way we win that game. So like I think Colorado is definitely overlooked in a lot of aspects with recruiting, with just like people around the country, just like talking about just like states, like high school football, things like that. So I definitely think like from playing that game out of state and seeing how we can compete on that level, that like Colorado football can definitely hang with any state.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys obviously put on for yourselves, obviously, and for Cherry Creek, but also appreciate, just taking on those challenges and putting on for Colorado at the end of the day, too. But, you talked about that being one of the most fun games maybe of your career, and I kind of want to shift it back a little bit to you and ask, what were some of your favorite matchups this season, whether it's like specific offensive linemen that you got to face or specific offensive schemes that you had to work against? What were some of your favorite ones from this past season?
I think my favorite ones, I think, well, it's easy to say the game against Valor. They gave us a whole bunch of crazy looks that I'd never seen. That was kind of fun. They try to like pick apart during the weekend film and things like that. And then I think also like the Grandview game, they brought us like a lot of like different looks and they like kind of knew how to attack us. So that was another fun one. And then like other games, it's hard to remember. It's so long ago, low key. I think those two definitely stand out for me a lot. Like in terms of like the most fun teams to play against. And then also actually playing against Thunder is pretty fun. Thunder is in Arvada West. They threw the ball a lot, so it's kind of just a lot of pass rush. So it's pretty fun games.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's fun to sack the quarterback. So you like watching him drop back because that's just one more opportunity to pop off.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess, obviously you said that was a long time ago. So if this takes a second as well to address, but, you have a pretty illustrious career. And I'd ask, who's a player that you'd like to compete against for the first time or again? So whether it was your junior year or senior year, or anytime you've went in and rotated and you got a piece of one player, maybe you would want to do better against a specific guy, or whether that's, just how fun it was, that specific matchup or whatever. Is there anyone that sticks out over the course of your career, or even a couple people too?
Teams that I played against, I mean, like the most fun person to play against was probably, I think, Zach Henning from Grandview this year. I like playing against Tanner this year too. Good old lineman. Zach again, junior year. Those are probably the two that kind of stands out the most to me. And I look like competing against my teammates in practice a lot, like the one-on-ones, pass pro and stuff like that with the O-lineman we had was really fun. I think those two are probably stand out though, like linemen to compete against.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about you'll have had some good offensive linemen over the past few years, so
Yeah.
you do get those opportunities in practice as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. Yeah, like every day of practice, it would be so competitive, like crazy competitive. Especially this season was crazy. Like a lot of talk was being done at practice.
Do you think that contributed a lot to your guys' success? And is that something that as a culture you think Creek does maybe a little bit differently than some other schools? I mean, obviously you're not at other practices, but just from your perspective, do you think that that's kind of a good thing to have in the program?
Yeah, it's definitely fun because I think like anybody can say like our strength was kind of like our O line and D line this year. Like we were definitely strong on both sides of the ball for that. So it was definitely like fun competing against them, and like our coaches kind of let us go at it to a point. So sometimes they had to like jump in because it was getting a little bad, but they definitely like made a culture where we're gonna compete like on a weekly basis and really like go at it a lot and have fun with it.
You practice how you play is what they say. So if you're able to beat each other up and bang down low, then, obviously that's going to translate really, really well to Friday nights and whatnot. And speaking of teammates here, I'm going to just ask you one question before we transition to your recruiting story. Obviously, we have our eyes on Creek and we know some names, but I think now would be a great time to provide the listeners some teammates to maybe look out for next year. Obviously, you have some returning starters that are going to be coming back to Creek, but is there anybody kind of in the wings that you think hasn't really got their chance yet that you think is going to turn up this next year?
Yeah, I think let me think from offensive side. Offensive side, I think Jaden Fox. Y'all probably know who Fox is. He's a freshman running back. He'll definitely be like good coming up next year, get a lot more reps and things like that. He's a freshman right now. He'll be a sophomore next season. And then I think on the defensive side, it's gonna be a lot of new people on defense actually. I'm trying to think. A lot of like Angelo's gonna be there for sure. He's kind of a known name right now. And then Aiden Napke, he'll be a junior next season. I think he'll be somebody to look out for, even though I think a lot of people already kind of know his name.
Yeah, no, those guys are studs, and we've seen some Jaden Fox like workouts and stuff, and he tags us and all that. So there's a lot to be excited for, and there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of seniors graduating, so it should be exciting to see what Coach Logan does with that hand. And I guess just one more right before we talk about your recruiting. What's it like playing for Coach Dave Logan, and where do you think he stands in the pantheon of high school coaches in Colorado?
Oh, I think he's the best high school football coach in Colorado. I think he stamped that with with what he's done at Creek like these past 4 years. And like playing for him is great. Definitely like I'm probably not around him as much as like the offensive guys are because he's like the offensive coordinator, so he calls the plays and things like that. But he definitely has a big hand in defense too, and just like being around him, definitely like really cool because like he's like a really like down to earth guy, and like he definitely helps you out a lot of stuff. He kind of like I think he's probably the one that brought out like most like the competitive energy on the team. Like he definitely just had us competing like all the time in practice and stuff like that. So I love playing for Coach Logan.
Yeah, obviously we have a ton of respect for him at the podcast, and there's a lot of things that don't need to be said just because, I mean, it speaks for itself at some point.
Yeah.
But now kind of turning to you, obviously, we hinted at it just a little bit earlier, and there is a lot of buzz around, kind of your recruitment. Obviously, you had offers like crazy. And so, we want to just kind of give you a chance to tell your side of things, your side of the story, and just kind of take us through your recruiting journey and what that looked like.
Yeah, recruiting. I started recruiting pretty early, so it was like it was like sophomore year. I got my first offer during the season to Colorado, and then recruiting like kind of steadily picked up like the over the next 2 years. And then I think recruiting really got real for me because I feel like sophomore year was just like kind of just fun getting the offers like that. But like it started like real and like kind of like stressful and stuff like junior season, starting to like trying to narrow down lists and things like that. So junior year and then junior summer, I took my visits. I went to a lot of schools, a lot of the Pac-12, and then I took my officials like Oregon, Cal, Washington, and Iowa State, where my brother plays at. So that went to those 4 schools, and then I got a couple more offers late. I got like Texas, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame late. That definitely kind of like shook my head up. I don't really know what to do with like the schools and things like that. And then I committed to Oregon in September, and I was locked in with Oregon heavy for a long time. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people know this now. I didn't really post about it, but then when Coach Prime came out to Colorado, he was definitely I talked to him a couple of times and like that, and so like he was trying to flip me late, but I stayed true with Oregon.
Rocking with the Ducks, and I mean, it looks like a good fit. The green and yellow seems like a good fit to be making plays in. Yeah. So that's awesome and looks good. And I think that obviously you have a very unique experience with just how long you're getting recruited for. As a Sooner fan myself, I saw that offer coming a little. I was like, man, how do you not do that a little sooner? So from a fan perspective, definitely a little bummed out, but we're definitely excited for you. And obviously you had a lot of things on your plate to weigh and kind of consider. But what were some things that you were specifically looking for in a school or a program to be a part of?
Yeah, I was definitely just looking. I was looking for a place where I just felt home, like going up there, like where like I feel like just like seeing yourself being there is a big thing. So just like if you can go up there and just like see yourself in the environment every day, looking for that and looking for a good coaching staff, good culture, a staff that I really like enjoy being around, and then like really just like the defensive scheme and how they would use me. Probably the big things I was looking for in recruitment.
I really like that, and I don't think a lot of prospects that we've had have really talked about that angle. Is just how hard is it to imagine yourself somewhere? If it comes naturally, then that's almost like that gut feeling that this is probably going to work.
Yeah.
Definitely. So and then like you said, how am I going to be used, and am I going to have fun? For you, probably, do I still get to destroy the quarterback every now and then? Probably wait a little bit in there. So looking ahead to, Pac-12 football and just Oregon football, what are some goals that you kind of have for college ball, or what is your outlook?
My goals right now, my goal is to get on the field, to be honest. Just get there and get on the field. Because I know, that's definitely going to be a tough task in itself. And then I'm looking forward to really just playing on a college football field. Like I'm looking forward to just going to every stadium, really. Just like, because I know, like being a kid, always seeing these stadiums on TV and things like that. Like seeing these crazy stadiums, thousands of people screaming. I'm looking forward to just running the stadiums and playing football.
Yeah, no, I mean, once you become the thing that you see on TV, there's definitely like some novelty to that. And, we're very excited. Obviously being able to watch Oregon games for us here at the pod, the quality is just a little bit better than NFHS, obviously. So we're looking forward to that high def on the TV and, looking forward and, obviously you're going to work hard for it but we're excited for you heading to that next level. And, before we kind of ask for some advice that you'd give to younger kiddos, I guess, who were some people that were important to your recruiting process or who maybe gave you good advice? Obviously, at Creek, you guys produce a ton of talent for the next level. And I'm curious, probably mostly on, were guys like, are you still in touch with guys like Arden Walker, who, has kind of was in a similar-ish situation a couple years ago as far as just being a good edge rusher out of Colorado? And, how did that help you with your journey?
Yeah, like Arden and my brother Miles, they're like best friends. So I talked to Arden a lot. So me and Arden, it's like my brother actually. So I talked to Arden a lot. Like him and my brother were probably like they were really big about like helping me like navigate through the recruiting process because they already went through it. So really just like seeing like just trying to like feel out like if coaches are being real what they're saying and just like knowing what to look for in like the schools and just kind of seeing just really just having like someone's already been through. It's way easier to kind of like know like what's to look for in the recruiting process and what coaches you want to look at and like some do's and don'ts that they kind of have for me, what to do and what not to do like during like just like posting stuff, talking to people, things like that.
Yeah, and I mean that's a huge deal for you as well. Obviously, Miles was great at what he did, and he went through the process. And I mean, there is that slight chance of you potentially going and playing at Iowa State with your bro. So I respect that you did that visit and check that out. That'd be fun to think about.
It was definitely close on going to Iowa State. Like I love the whole Iowa State staff. Like it was definitely a tough decision for me to make.
But I mean, in this case, you get to kind of carve your own path. And also, while we're on the subject of Miles, I just got to give you some mad respect here for bringing home that Gatorade Player of the Year hardware. Your brother definitely should have won that his senior year. We have not been too quiet about that here on the pod. So I say, way to put on for the name, obviously a purchase, and way to bring home that hardware that, I mean, you set that goal of. I mean, that was one of the illest picks that I saw in one of your posts, is that you set that goal in mind, and you really just checked the boxes on all those goals, man.
Yeah, definitely was a big goal for me. Like my whole high school career, trying to get Gatorade Player of the Year. Like I always like saw like the banners in the school, like growing up, and just like seeing that, I always wanted to get that. Then seeing my brother not get it was definitely tough. But yeah, kind of try to like get him back for it.
Yeah, and I mean, it is what it is for him, and I mean, now you can kind of mess with him a little bit, right? You can be like, hey, you're talking to a Gatorade Player of the Year right now, big bro.
Yeah.
So, and all of that in mind, a huge goal of these interviews is to set up kind of the next set of playmakers. We fight really hard here for the athletes here in Colorado, and I think that these interviews are so important for up and coming players. I mean, especially, once again, thanks for taking time to join us on the show. And for those who are listening, there is a lot of snafus on the back end, mostly my fault here, but Blake's been a good sport. So once again, just thanks for setting aside that time. And with those youngins in mind, what is some advice you'd like to give to high school athletes making their way through high school and high school athletics, and maybe who even aspire to get to the next level?
Yeah, I think definitely it's not in you're not gonna get recruited off all the social media stuff talking about like how good you are. Like you gotta just work and just put in your film every game and just like try to just be the best. Just put your best foot forward on film. I think that's the biggest thing I can say is just like that's the biggest thing that matters. All the workouts and stuff, like you can post all the workouts and do all that stuff, but if you're not like put on a show on Friday nights, then like coaches really aren't gonna come and recruit you and things like that. And also just like have a life outside of football. I think like I kind of learned how to do that because I was so tied into football all 4 years, and just like I think definitely a balance is definitely good, but like really just if you want to have a goal, like put in the work for it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're living proof that you can work hard. Obviously, you can invest in football, but you can also be hooping, and you could also be hanging out with your friends and having a good time and making the most of that experience. So I love that advice because, I mean, dang, it kind of sounds like I'm probably throwing some people under the bus, but it's a subtweet. But, I definitely get some prospects on here that, we do an interview and it's football top to bottom, nothing in between. And I mean, you can kind of tell those football guys just from interacting, like one-dimensional football guys, I mean, just from kind of talking to them and whatnot. So I think that that's great advice, especially, I mean, at the end of the day, like, obviously you want to play in the next level, but you're still a kid, in high school. So I love that advice. I cannot stress how important I think that is.
Yep.
And, now you kind of get a chance to shout out everyone that you were able to have fun with, over this past 4 years or just in your life. We believe that it takes a village, to help produce, outstanding athletes and young men such as yourself. So we just want to give you as much time as you need to thank anyone who's been important to your journey, whether it's been academically or athletically, to shout out on the show, whether it's friends, family, coaches, or, other players.
Yeah, definitely like my parents for sure. And like my mom, dad, and then my sister and my brother, both of them, definitely big. And then I think just like just like my teammates. It's probably like a big thing. Like my teammates, they definitely like did so much for me that I don't think they would even know. Like really just kind of just like give me like a I don't know like life, but like be able to have fun like in the sport and outside the sport. Cause like my teammates are my friends. Like they're like I hang out with them outside of football on the field. Like those are my friends. So probably like definitely them and just the coaches. I think that's probably the biggest thing, biggest people to thank.
Yeah, and I mean that environment and that culture at Creek is one that we try and, push down our listeners' faces every year because obviously it works, right? So, all the working mechanisms off and on the field it produces, and we have a lot of respect, and we're also grateful for all of those people that you're shouting out, just because it helps promote the sport here in Colorado, and it gave us a great chance to chop it up with you here. But before we bounce, why don't you tell the listeners here where to find you on social media? I mean, you're a college athlete now. It's a whole brand, man. We got to get those numbers up. So tell them where to find you.
Yeah, so on Instagram it's Blake.purchase1, and then Twitter I think it's just Blake Purchase, and that's probably my main social media. Just somewhere, just type in my name and you'll find me.
Yep, go give the guy a follow. And that's kind of crazy that you just straight up have Blake Purchase on Twitter. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone who just has their name. So way to get on top of that first.
I feel like somebody told me that a long time ago. Just put your name and like it'd be way easier for coaches to find you. So I did that like when I first made the account.
Big advice right there too. Pick up every little thing. You see, even in your casual conversation, you're dropping great advice for these young players.
Yeah.
But after you go ahead and find Blake on social media, obviously go ahead and find the pod, whether that's on Instagram, where we are Playmakers Corner. We're also on Facebook, Playmakers Corner, and then on Twitter, we are at Playmaker Corner. So just a slight difference there. And be sure to check out our TikTok as well, Playmakers Corner. And we're also on YouTube, where we are posting reels as well as full episodes. And you could listen on YouTube or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. And, be sure to follow, subscribe, like whatever the individual platform is going to call it. So that way you get notifications on all of the newest episodes as we continue to interview some of the top players. Obviously, rank-wise, maybe no one higher than Blake here, but, still tons of great talent and advice here in the Bach State. And once again, Blake, thank you so much for your time and commitment to this show.
Yep. Thank you.
And I've been your host, Kodey Stauffer, and peace. Boom.